city of Bridgeburg. Population, 90,000 people. Well, that was enough because since time began, anything over 1 meant trouble. I'd been sent for by the editor of the local paper. With my retainer, he'd mailed a copy of the 5-star final, which headlined a knifing and called it a professional murder. I wasn't sure where I fit in, but the retainer was a fat one. It was worth a long drive to look into. I took the express elevator to the editorial suite. My detective's instinct told me that this was where I'd find the editor.
Yes, sir.
My name's Diamond. I'd like to see Mr. Bruce.
Oh, yes, come in.
Hello, Diamond. I expected you yesterday.
Hello.
This is Mr. Dean. Hi. Mr. Coleman. Dean here's in charge of our art department. Yeah, let me see this. No, Dean, we're running an election, not a carnival.
Yes, sir. How about this with no lace work? Let's throw a monkey wrench into Michaud's machine.
Not gaudy, but neat. Lay it out. Sit down, Diamond.
And now, stop me if I'm wrong, but it seems I've walked into one of those smoke-filled campaign rooms.
Well, something like that. I didn't give you the details because I felt you might not want to get involved in a political hassle.
You couldn't be more right, sir. Look, I'll deduct my expenses and return the retainer.
Wait a minute. I'm not asking you to vote or to swing votes. Your job is to protect our party candidate, that's all.
From what?
Murder, abduction, either or both.
Now, this isn't one of those little republics where you vote with fixed bayonets.
Not quite. Here they use knives, guns, and dynamite. You've heard of the Michaud Syndicate?
He wiggles a tentacle through my backyard occasionally.
Well, this is their breeding ground. Has been for years. Michaud owns this town. But we've got an election coming up next week, and we're going to break his back.
If you win.
We'll win, with the right protection for Allison. Mike, ask Allison to step in, will you? Diamond, I never rode a white horse, and I never intend to. And if somebody doesn't believe in Mother's Day, that's okay with me. But to coin a phrase, Bridgeburg isn't big enough for both Michaud and me.
Personal?
Sure. I live in this town. Allison, I want you to meet Richard Diamond.
How do you do?
Vote for Allison Garvey and stamp out corruption.
I thank you.
To anyone outside this room, Diamond's a wire service reporter. To us, he's a private detective.
Oh, Alec, I thought we went through all that.
I lined up Diamond strictly for your protection.
I haven't said I was lined up for anything. I still have my hat on. Hey, you'll forgive me, but this is a little bit like stepping into an automatic washing machine with a switch on.
You're wondering what the police are doing about all this.
Well, I was going to ask.
Nothing. 90% of the force has been hand-picked by Michaud.
Well, that leaves you 10%.
Yes, but you can't tell the players without a program. Michaud hasn't printed a program.
That's one reason I picked you. You're neutral, reliable, and unknown.
Well, after such a glowing tribute, I don't see how I can refuse.
You've got a room at the Windsor Hotel. Why don't you get settled?
All right.
Keep your hat on, Mr. Diamond. I won't need you.
There seems to be some boards squeaking in the party platform.
Go get settled. I'm as stubborn as she is.
15 all, it's your sir.
I've been born and raised in the political arena, Mr. Diamond. I've been on the city council here for 2 years, despite Michaud, and despite the rest of the council. And privately, I won't say that I'm not afraid of him. But the voters don't have to know that. Oh, Alec, this is wonderful.
Now, don't get off the subject.
Now, let's be sensible. Mr. Diamond isn't exactly a hairy ape, but it wouldn't take people long to figure him for a bodyguard.
Well, let's look at it from a different angle, Miss Garvey.
Mr. Diamond, we have a lot of people on our side, but they don't want it known. Now, when I meet with these people, I do it alone, for their protection. I don't want you alone. I don't want anybody alone.
Well, that's not quite what I had in mind. I was thinking in terms of...
No, thanks, Mr. Diamond. I'm way ahead of you. I've had dinner, and I don't feel like dancing.
It would look more natural.
Well, that's what I meant. I guess.
Wouldn't work. Everybody knows that Mike Coleman here beat the brains out of anybody else I even looked at. He's madly in love with me.
So every man's entitled to one big mistake.
Well, goodbye, Mr. Bruce. Gentlemen, good luck.
Diamond. I know your record. You're no model of civic virtue, but you don't like hoodlums eating off the same plate.
True, true.
Now, Michaud knows we're going to win this election, if we have a candidate. And he's so used to muscle, he doesn't realize that every threat against Allison's life guarantees her more votes. But there's no one I can trust who has your experience in this sort of thing.
Well, now, the lady doesn't want me to handle the situation.
She'll come around.
Well, I don't know.
Then see how this hits you. I told you we had a murder down here day before yesterday. The man they found with a knife in his back knew something that I should know. That's why he was killed.
Stool pigeon?
No. A man I hired. A good man. A private detective.
A nice appeal to my esprit de corps.
Did it work?
Well, maybe. I take it Michaud keeps his hands clean. Who uses the knife?
10 to 1, it's an ex-felon called Danny Boy.
Danny Boy. Well, I might stick around for a while at that. Theirs is not nobility, and when I feel such sentiments creeping up on me, I try to ignore them until they go away. But this was something more basic. The same thing that makes a Hatfield draw a bead on a McCoy. Revenge. You know, when one clan member is injured by another, well, I belonged to the men who carried badges, and one of them had been killed. If I could help wipe out Michaud and his boys, I'd feel a lot better about it. And that meant that nobody should harm a hair of Allison Garvey's head. Come on in. I take it you're not the bellboy.
Should be glad it saves you a tip.
I'll give you a quarter to run along anyway.
I just got here.
Look, why don't you meet me in the bar, say, sometime next week?
Gee, you won't be around. I'll just be sitting there waiting.
And we wouldn't want to embarrass you, would we? What makes you think I won't be there?
Well, you're already packing, aren't you?
Unpacking.
Packing.
Nevertheless, hit the hall, buddy, or pay half the rent.
Well, it was nice meeting you, Diamond. Forget the gun, Diamond. I'd have you gutted before you fired a shot.
Well, I wouldn't think of shooting you. Danny Boy?
Where'd you pull the name from?
Well, you know, from an old song. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. It's what they call a haunting melody. Is there anything haunting you?
Now, what'd be haunting me?
Well, let's say a ghost. A ghost of a man lying in an alley with a knife in his back.
A lot of ghosts, Diamond. How'd you like to join the club?
No, thanks. I belong to the Elks.
That fellow in the alley is talking about. What makes you think it was my blade?
Well, your name's a household legend, Danny Boy. And that's too bad, because one of these days they're going to get Michaud on something technical like a tax ramp, and you're going to take it for the big one.
Shut up.
You asked me a question. I'm just packing.
You're a smart man. You really leaving?
Well, it's like you said, Danny, I'm a smart man. If I stuck around, I might pick up certain information.
Talk like you already knew something.
Not yet, but the man in the alley obviously did, and look what happened to him. No, thanks. I know when to quit. Check out for me, will you? One thing I'd spotted, Danny Boy was scared. So I'd needle him along as far as I could for the pure pleasure of making him sweat. But I'd merely guessed at his name. He knew mine. And he knew I wasn't any wire service reporter. I'd done an awful big league in the Reform Party voting.
Hi. All settled, Diamond?
In a manner of speaking. How are things in the secret chamber?
Graham, we're working over a speech. Got any ideas?
Yeah, don't plan on it being a secret from Michaud. He'll have a copy before the ink's dry.
No one outside this room has access to Allison's speeches until she gives them.
Well, then Michaud has a lot of little birds with big ears flying around.
I'll put it on the line, Diamond. We're not in the cloak and dagger business.
All righty.
I think Mr. Diamond means he had a visitor a short time ago.
You know, I keep looking for that secret mind-reading device you've got. I know it's there somewhere, it just doesn't show.
Well, Dean had an errand to do. It took him by your hotel. He saw one of Michaud's men going in.
By the name out?
The one they called Danny.
You know, you ought to take up baseball. You'd be the first player in the history to ever bat 1,000.
I just got here, Diamond. I didn't know anything about this. Any trouble?
He tried to stick me with the knife. That's trouble.
You think one of us tipped Michaud on you?
That is the way my simple mind works.
You look like a rough man, Diamond, but so am I. Let's try each other on for size.
All right, now you two, back to your corners. Diamond, I don't like your accusation, but we still need you. We're amateurs in a pro game. You're the one that should be able to figure out how they tagged you.
That still seems pretty obvious to me.
Yes, it is. Now, let's assume for a moment that 50 people saw you enter this building. Another 20 saw you take the express elevator, which could only lead you up here. Now, let's suppose one of these people recognized you, or even had a hunch. They follow you to your car. The police commissioner does a quick check on your license. What does he come up with?
Richard Diamond, private detective. Staying at the Windsor, probably employed by the Reform Party.
Exactly. We won't need you anyway, Mr. Diamond.
And please, when I ask you to marry me, don't ever say yes.
You know, I came here to quit, and she took that play away from me.
Well, you don't have to quit. We can work this out.
I'm sorry, you can figure me for a coward if you like, but I can't do anything without her cooperation and a police force I can count on when I need them. That's like setting up a mob scene and finding out there's no mob.
Okay, Diamond. Thanks for coming around anyway.
Goodbye. If it's any consolation to you, I wish you all good luck.
Sure.
Allison's explanation could have been right, but I usually prefer to eliminate the obvious before running down to wild goose answers. And if I had to put my finger on somebody specific, it'd be Dean. Now, I had to admit that was the old the butler did it logic, but sometimes the butler does do it. I'd actually driven out of town, stashed my car, and rented one with local plates. Then I settled down to wait. It was probably even better this way. If Allison didn't know I was around, she wouldn't try to give me the slip. I'd be in a much better spot to make like the Marines. And it wasn't long before Allison came out. I didn't have much in the way of a plan. That was going to have to develop while I was playing cat and mouse. I kept thinking that whoever gave women the vote certainly had a tiger by the tail. I kept hoping she knew what she was doing, and that I knew what I was doing. Fortunately, she didn't seem in much of a hurry, but I didn't particularly like the route. It definitely wasn't leading to the high rent district. We ended up in the warehouse section, which didn't exactly fill me with a sense of relief. I knew Allison was a smart one, but stubborn. Stubborn enough to actually meet some of these scared citizens in a place like this. I couldn't very well pull up and tip my hat. It was Danny Boy. Allison had driven right into a trap. Bruce? Don't repeat the name. This is Diamond. Yeah, I know. When will you be alone? Okay. Is there a side entrance? Yeah, well, just sit tight. I'll be right there.
Well, you didn't impress me as a man to run out on something like this.
Well, let's hope I impressed everyone else that way. Where did Allison go when she left here?
Well, she'd gotten one of those messages. Somebody wanted to see her very privately. You know, working with us is like collaborating with the underground during the war.
Well, it's a little more dangerous now. I followed Allison. She walked right into a setup. Michaud's got her.
Oh, no. That darn fool woman, I told her.
Well, her you don't tell. You listen.
I guess I've been seeing too many of those movies about the newspaper business. How about you?
No, thanks.
Well, what do we do now?
Find her?
How?
I don't know. I couldn't risk a shot. I didn't want to hit her by mistake.
Joe, replate page 1. Make it an obit for the Reform Party. Well, I don't care. There must be 100 acceptable political reasons.
So you're going to throw in the towel, huh?
I can't risk Allison's life any further.
Look, give me a chance to get her back.
Now, what good would that do? They'd only try again.
We can put a Mickey in a drink or coffee or something. Get her out of town till after the election.
No. That issue hits the stands at midnight. I'm not through with Michaud, but I'll have to find another way.
There is no other way, mister. Unless, of course, you'd like to walk through the streets with a flute and charm the rats into the reservoir.
No, I should have known better. When Allison came to me for the paper's support, I said yes. That's what I was waiting for, a good, hard-fighting candidate who wasn't afraid. Sure, I said yes. But now I say no, and I hope it's not too late.
That's exactly what they want you to do. Back out.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Well, it's your town, mister.
No, you're wrong. It's Michaud's town.
If I walk out now, it's for real. I thought you said we were alone.
I thought you'd left our fair metropolis.
I didn't know you were in there.
I came back. You must have been out to dinner. I was editing Allison's copy of her speech. It's no Gettysburg Address, but...
I suppose you didn't know I was here.
All I heard were muffled voices. Your dulcet tones didn't ring through.
Now, you might have been listening at the door. Which could mean that Michaud only knows I'm back.
You're wiping your feet on the one thing I'm proud of, Diamond. I'm a decent reporter and a good one. I could be working on a dozen other papers at twice the money.
If you can make so much money somewhere else, what makes you stick here?
This. Michaud didn't like some of the articles I wrote. Danny Boy delivered the message.
I'm sorry, Coleman.
Okay. I suppose I should appreciate your basic distrust of humanity. Forgive the dramatics.
Danny Boy again. Where can I find him?
Well, if you wait around long enough, he's bound to show up on Warlow Street. Editorially speaking, we call the entire district Michaud's recreation center. Vocal rooms, sawdust joints, dance halls, the works.
You say you're throwing the towel at midnight?
That's what I say.
I'll see you in a few hours, maybe.
Diamond, whatever you have in your mind, forget it.
No, I'd sort of like to bring these star-crossed lovers back together again.
What's happened to Allison?
Well, he'll give you the details up to date. I'll fill you in later. I hope. Now, there's an old saying about bearding the lion in his den. The trouble is that often gives the lion quite an advantage. But then I had to draw Danny Boy out somehow. I'm through. Where I can find a fellow with the name of Danny Boy?
Who wants to see him?
It's not important. Thanks for the game, gentlemen. That took care of plant number 1. I figured Danny would go for the wine, women, and cards routine. So I looked into the wine situation in a nearby clip joint. I asked the same question, and I got the same answer. I felt like Hansel and Gretel dropping a trail of breadcrumbs. Next, the women. The dime a dance variety. A string of tickets bought me a little conversation and the same reaction. Well, I figured that was enough breadcrumbs. Time to go back to the beginning and wait for the wicked old witch. An hour later, I answered my own question about where to find Danny Boy. Danny. Now you reach for it and hand it over slow. Now where's Allison?
With Michaud at his penthouse.
Well, then that's where we're going.
Oh, no, Diamond, we can't.
And you're going to say the right thing at the right time. Then we're going to walk out of there with Allison.
Well, there ain't no way to do that.
Then you better think of a way.
Let's go.
All he had to do was call my bluff. He wouldn't know because I'd learned something. He wasn't afraid to kill, but he was scared to death of dying. Yeah.
Me, Danny.
Okay. Danny.
Mike, I got a good man here from St. Louis.
You don't just bring people up here, Danny boy.
He does me. Now get over there with the rest. Now you fellas reach for your guns real slow, put them on the ground, and kick them over here. Come on.
Who's a skink? Do what he says.
I couldn't help it, Mike.
Now show me Allison.
Never heard the name.
I better get home, Mike. Now remember, Diamond.
Well, excuse me, Miss Garvey. You know, I came here to rescue you, and what do? I break up the top social event of the year. Or is this a meeting of the strategy board?
You can't let him out of here.
So this is Diamond. Everybody said you went home.
2 years on the city council. That is real clever, Miss Shard. You think ahead. I guess they call it grooming a candidate.
It would have worked. It still might.
Well, you had all the people just begging to put this brave little girl into office.
The way I look at it, Diamond, what can you do?
Now, you move over there and pick up the phone. You dial the poker room, you ask for a fella by the name of Nate. I think that's his name.
So?
And when you get him, you tell him to spread the word. Danny boy is going to be leaving here soon, and he shouldn't get far.
Nate, gotta make this quick. If Danny boy leaves my place tonight, he shouldn't get far, understand?
Mike, call him back.
All right, Danny, get out.
Oh, you can't, Diamond.
You better put on your track shoes, Danny boy.
Don't make me go out there.
All right, Danny, I'll tell you what. I can call Mr. Bruce. He'll have the state police up here. That's the only kind of protection you're going to get now. But if I do, you're going to write me a novel. And it's going to be all about them.
All right, Diamond, sure. I know their whole setup, everything. I could write 2 novels.
Okay. Pick up the phone and call Michigan 500. Let me speak to Mr. Bruce. Now, don't look so glum, Grube. You're going to have a good time. They got a lot of politics in the penitentiary. Now, ordinarily, I don't get very excited by an election, but this one had me intrigued. I waited around till after election, and Bruce was elected mayor. It was his town now.